Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast, where we provide you with your weekly diagnosis of everything fantasy football. Whether it's season-long leagues, dynasty, DFS, or sometimes even IDP, we got you covered all year long. Let's do it. Let's get to it. Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast. And of course, I'm your host, Jon June. It is Wednesday. Can't get my day straight. Wednesday, December 1st, 2021. And I have my co-host here with me, Greg Penniman. He is feeling a little bit under the weather, but he's a champ, man. So he's here with us. Greg, how you feeling, brother, man?
Doing all right, hanging in there. Definitely excited for tomorrow's game. Good to have some of these stars back. CD, Cooper, hopefully. Again, we're just super close to December. It's closing time, pretty much. So, Christmas, fantasy championships, my birthday, it's all coming together.
It's all coming together, and we are. It's been a long year of preparation, long year of watching football, studying, setting these lineups, setting these waivers, to get to this point here where, we're hopefully, fighting for a fantasy playoff. Greg, luckily you and I, we don't have to experience stress.
I know the last 2 years has been horrible, but we made it.
But we made it here in our league of record, the League of Extraordinary People. You clinched last week, and I came in and followed your lead and clinched this week. So that's exciting for the both of us. There's a lot of madness going on in that league.
Oh yeah, that's that. Always like 3 games separated from like 2 to 12. It's crazy.
It's actually ridiculous because the 12th place team is 4-8.
So has a chance.
Still has a chance to make it. They're not mathematically eliminated. So this league is wild, and I was happy. I was really happy to have clinched last week because I did not want to have to deal with the madness.
Yeah.
But neither here nor there. We are here to help the rest of y'all clinch in the rest of your other leagues. And I know Greg and we have to clinch in some other leagues as well.
Yes, sir.
We have a league where there's, what is it, Greg? 5 teams with 9 wins.
Oh yeah, we 10-2 we're at first, and then after that, another 5 teams with 9 wins. Like we have that league where it's like so deep, and then the other league where it's just so. I've never seen that. In the history of fantasy, I've never seen such like record. It's like it's crazy.
It's absolutely crazy. So, as we always do on this Wednesday evening for us, we got to break down Thursday Night Football. Like Greg mentioned, we got a big Thursday night game. The Dallas Cowboys taking off the New Orleans Saints. But before we break down that game, got to get into those streams of the week. Also today, we will, talk about some guys from a fantasy perspective. How are you feeling? What's the confidence level as you head into the fantasy playoffs? So that'll be a fun segment for us here today. But Greg, lead us off with your quarterback stream of the week.
Yeah, it seems like it's pretty much a layup here with Taysom Hill being my quarterback stream of the week going against Dallas tomorrow night. He's only 28% roster. Like, he needs to be up way higher than that. Like, I don't understand. This man, 4 games last year, 4 QB1 weeks. Like, that's what he is. That's what he does. That's what I expect from him tomorrow night. So go get this man. Please play him. No matter how he gets it done, it doesn't matter. He's going to finish as QB1.
I don't know what it is with us, man. Like, we've been literally picking the same people.
Yeah,
it's
you should repeat it because it's injustice that his percentage is that low.
Well, it's actually so I can clearly tell that I did my research after you because when I went to go check, he was 29% roster.
Okay.
Somebody's listening.
Okay.
But I think Dallas, obviously, this game should be high scoring. He seems on track to get the start this week. Took some home, some first team reps. If I want a floor play, easy QB1, don't have to think about it. It's obviously going to be Taysom Hill. But if I am trying to hit a home run with a quarterback that I'm streaming this week, it would be Taylor Heineke. So just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
But the easy one is Taysom Hill for sure. Greg, tight end stream of the week, man. What do you got?
I'm gonna go with, depending on his health, Cole Kmet. He did not play to practice today with a groin injury, but he did have 11 targets last week. That's another game where he's had over at least 6 targets. He's done that about 4 or 5 times this year, so he's definitely involved in this offense, no matter who the quarterback is. And yeah, I just feel like if you are looking for a safe floor at a tight end to not give you a bust day, Cole Kmet is definitely out there. He's only 26% rostered going against Arizona.
Yeah, I like Cole Kmet this week. Arizona seemed to be a team that we didn't really like to target against in the tight end position. They still have done well, but Cole Kmet has definitely seen some target volume, which makes it real nice. I actually really like Cole Kmet this week. My tight end stream of the week is actually going to be Jarrett Cook. He is 47% rostered. Jarrett Cook, please don't fail me this week. But he's seen at least 5 targets in each of his last 2 games to go along with one touchdown during that time. He's got a nice matchup this week against Cincinnati, in Cincinnati defense that over their last 3 games, they've given up the 3rd most fantasy points to the tight end position, giving up 18 PPR points per game to that position, also allowing a touchdown to that position in each of the last 2 games. This game could be high scoring, and Cook should have some value this week.
Yeah, definitely like that. He's one of my sleepers coming into your tight end position, so yeah, he should continue to be solid.
Greg, your defensive stream of the week, man.
I'm pretty sure we have the same one here too. I have Kansas City. I did see you picked him up in the League of Extraordinary People, but yeah, they're 38% rostered going against Denver. This team has 6 straight games with a pick. 2 last week. Believe at least 5 straight games with a sack. This team is rolling right now. It's defense. Chris Jones getting healthy, getting to the quarterback. Tyrann Mathieu, Snead, the boys doing well. So yeah, this is Chiefs all the way.
Yeah, what's funny is because I actually didn't want to pick the Chiefs here. I was actually trying to pick another defense in Philadelphia, which I think has value not just this week, but the remainder of the playoffs. If you really look at their schedule, Miami is another one that's kind of in a similar boat where they actually have a really good matchup this week. They're on bye next week, but then they have pretty good schedule the rest of the way, and they've been playing really good defense. But both those defenses were not eligible for this because they're both over 50% rostered. But Kansas City definitely is my pick. They met that threshold at that 38%, like you said. They've been a pretty solid defense as of late too. Actually, over the last weeks, they've been the 7th ranked defensive special team unit, and I actually really like this move as a rest of season type of move too. I know I talked about Miami as well as Philadelphia, but if you're looking for a defense that just isn't going to tank you for your fantasy for this next 5 weeks here, and one that you won't have to switch in and switch out, I think it's got to be Kansas City. They have a decent schedule ahead of them where you could conceivably just lock them into your lineup up until championship week. They get Denver, Las Vegas, the Chargers, Pittsburgh, and then they get Cincinnati in championship week. So maybe that's probably where I pull back a little bit. But depending on how they're playing during that span, you might be willing to continue to roll them out there. So not fantastic matchups by any means, but this is a Kansas City defense, like you were saying, Greg, has been playing much better, and they should provide a safe enough floor over these next few weeks while you sort everything else out on your roster.
Yeah, totally agree.
Moving on to the matchup, man, we got the 7-4 Dallas Cowboys traveling to New Orleans to take on the 5-6 New Orleans Saints. This game has a 47-point total. The Cowboys are 5.5-point favorites. In terms of the injuries here, well, this game's in a dome, so there's no weather concerns there. But in terms of injuries, Dallas wide receiver position, they're kind of in flux right now. Cedric Wilson, he's out with an ankle. Amari Cooper, he's questionable. After coming off the COVID list, he was activated from the COVID list to the active roster. He did travel with the team to New Orleans. There was some pessimism about whether he would play earlier in the week, but it seems like now there seems to be more optimism that he could actually play. So definitely something to note. It's good that we watched that, there's on the Thursday slate, so we get to make that decision nice and early and plan accordingly. Make sure you keep Amari Cooper in your wide receiver slot, right? You're not in that flex position. CeeDee Lamb, he's good to go after coming off the concussion protocol, so that's definitely a nice boost for Dallas there. Another boost for them is DeMarcus Lawrence, their star defensive end, according to Jerry Jones, will play after coming off injured reserve with that foot injury that's kept him out. Jerry Jones, man,
I know,
he's
yeah.
like, hey, man, I paid you your money. You better get out there.
That man has an injury status. He's like the pro sports edge for Dallas. Like, that man gives you all the injury status for his own team. Pseudo coach out here.
It's crazy, man. But DeMarcus Lawrence, I think, is going to give a nice boost to this Dallas pass rush, and they could get Randy Gregory back whenever Jerry Jones says so. So I think that's going to be obviously this Dallas defense. If they're someone that's available, I think that they've been playing some good football, and they were playing some good football even when these guys were healthy. So moving on to the New Orleans side, though, in terms of the injuries, Alvin Kamara, that's the big question mark. Will he play? He sat out 3 games now, and he's questionable with this knee injury. The big question is, will he get to play? That we don't know yet, but we do know Mark Ingram he did practice after sitting out the Thanksgiving Day game. He's set to play this week, and then defensive end Marcus Davenport, who recently came off the IR, he's out this week. Greg, where are you going with this matchup?
I'm going to take the under. I'm going to take New Orleans to cover, but I'm going to take Dallas to win the game. On Dallas side, I do like Dak a lot in this matchup. He's borderline QB1 for me. Zeke, seems to still to be practicing every day. I still think he's the RB1 in this offense. Let's not get crazy about the Tony Pollard hype. I still think Zeke, I have him ranked as a high in RB2, some RB1 upside, of course, if he gets those touchdowns. Pollard, I have in the RB3 category. Lamb, great to see him back every week, wide receiver 1. And Amari Cooper, yeah, he's been limited. He seems like he has a chance to play if he goes. I have him as wide receiver 2, with Gallup being bumped down to that third pass catching option in that wide receiver 3 flex range. But if Cooper can't go, Gallup kind of gets bumped up to wide receiver 2 range. He was averaging over 9 targets the last 2 weeks without one of the other, Lamb or Cooper. And Schultz, if Cooper's back, it kind of bumps him down to that 4th option, which I don't like. Schultz, goes back to that tight end 2 range with the upside if Cooper's out. New Orleans side, we said it, Taysom Hill, you got to play him. He's just pencil him in as a QB1. Mark Ingram seems to be good to go. Kamara, if he's able to go, it looks like this 3-headed monster of just this running attack. Like, they should just be running it all day, like between those 3. But if not, Mark Ingram gets that bump as a low end RB, a higher RB2, and yeah, it's really tough for the pass catchers, especially with Taysom Hill now. It's running the Saints. Like, this is going to be their style offense. Baltimore all over again.
Yeah, man, I'm almost with you. I'm going to take the over here. I'm going to take New Orleans to cover. Going to take Dallas to win. When I look at the Dallas side, Dak Prescott, fantastic matchup here. I think he's got top 3 upside. I mean, this New Orleans defense. I mean, if you told me that the touchdowns were all going to be Dak's, like, he's my QB1 this week.
Yeah,
matchup is that good. CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, they both return. Potentially Amari Cooper, but if they do play, both return to that upper echelon wide receiver 2 status with like major wide receiver 1 upside.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Gallup, a very nice wide receiver 3 play with obviously wide receiver 2 upside if Amari Cooper sits. I know we expect the New Orleans rush defense to slow down the Dallas rushing attack and whatnot, but I still like both of these guys. I actually do like Pollard a lot this week too. There's an opportunity here for him to make plays in the pass game. We do know that Jerry Jones might say one thing, but he's
True.
not on the calling the plays and the personnel packages and whatnot. This New Orleans front is tough to run against, and so maybe that makes maybe they utilize Tony Pollard a little bit more as a pass catcher, which might give them a nice opportunity to rest Ezekiel Elliott in a organic manner. I do like Schultz, though, to continue to remain, reliable tight end one option. Amari Cooper, I do think he probably will be limited. There was some talks that he was, he was having some difficulty, like getting back in shape after the time off and his bout with COVID. So, there's a possibility he could be like on a pitch count or something. So I think Schultz could definitely still be an option here as a nice tight end one option. On the New Orleans side, totally with you on everything. I mean, Taysom Hill under center for the Saints makes him an automatic QB1. If Alvin Kamara can go, that'd be huge for fantasy managers as we get closer to playoffs. But he's obviously you play him as Alvin Kamara, the RB1, until the Saints show you otherwise. I don't think there's any way. Last year they could get away without going through Alvin Kamara when you have Michael Thomas, but you don't have Michael Thomas. Like you don't have Drew Brees. Like you have to go through Alvin Kamara. Like this offense goes through Kamara. So I playing him as a top 6, top 7 running back until proven otherwise. Mark Ingram, that would put him in RB3 territory because I do think that he has a role here. Because like you said, Greg, this becomes like. I mean, they might as well just go to like the wing T at this point or something.
Two running backs back in the backfield. Yeah.
just go run with Georgia Tech runs.
Yep.
Like with the triple option, wing T, all that stuff, man. Because I don't see how else they can generate offense. And I'm totally with you on the pass game for redraft purposes. Completely staying away. I want nothing to do with it. But we like a little risky here. So if I had to pick somebody, I think it would probably be, and this is a little wild card here, little Jordan Humphrey.
Okay.
I think he provides an inside presence that we know that this system likes to utilize. They did lose their tight end in Adam Stroutman. They added him to injured reserve. Nick Van Eck and Juwan Johnson, they saw most of the tight end work, but they didn't, only produced one target, which was a touchdown to Nick Van Eck, but still just one target there. Little Jordan Humphrey, though, we saw his snap percentage rise, and it was the highest he had been since week 2. So I think that there's an opportunity here for him to make some plays. He ran 94% of his routes from the slot, and 4 of his 5 targets in week 12 came from that area of the field. We know that Dallas has, the way to get away from Trayvon Diggs is to go in the slot. And we saw Hunter Renfrow, rip them up from that area of the field as well. But this is strictly a DFS recommendation.
Word.
Got a bold prediction for us, Greg?
I'm gonna go with Zeke getting 100 and a touch. Actually, yeah.
That is bold because this
that's real bold.
First defense.
That's real bold. I don't really have anything else. Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah.
Don't stick with it, bro. I like it.
Yeah.
For me, I'm gonna go with little Jordan Humphrey for 70 receiving yards.
That's a good day. I like that.
Yeah. All right. So with that being said, we are not wrapping the show up, but we will move on to this next segment. And it's going to be just going to ask you about the confidence level, Greg. We'll kind of go through it. We'll bounce these guys back and forth. And we're going to rate them on we'll go 1 to 5. I feel like 10 might be too large.
Yeah, we do 1 to 5.
5 being the utmost confidence and 1 being no confidence at all. I'm going to start with a guy that we just talked about playing in this game, Alvin Kamara. Right, we understand that he's obviously dealing with this knee injury that's kept him out for quite some time now. We don't even have confirmation of whether he'll play in the game this week. And then on top of that, we know that Taysom Hill's coming into the offense, and what that already sends signals into fantasy managers' minds. What's your confidence level with Alvin Kamara?
I'm gonna go with a 4, just because he's 4th in PPR points per game. I know there was a concern that, with Taysom Hill, his upside kind of gets a little capped, but you mentioned there's no Michael Thomas. Like they really can't do anything without them using Alvin Kamara. So I'm gonna go with I want to go like a 3.5, but I'm gonna go with a 4. And as long as he's healthy, I mean that's the key. That's really where the confidence comes in.
Yeah, and so I'm with you on this on the assessment. I'm at a 4. Sorry, I'm like dying over here. I'm at a 4. I don't think that they can, like I said before, I don't think that this offense can generate offense without somehow going through Alvin Kamara.
Yeah.
Now his health, that's the question. But as long as he's healthy and he's active, he's in your lineup.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to trade him. You weren't trying to trade him when he was injured. So you're just going to continue to roll him out there. I think that they've held him out enough to where the knee is probably not an issue, right? Like we never got official word like what he's dealing with, right? Like, so, and the fact that he's been out this long, maybe it's like some ligament sprain or whatever. So, there's a possibility that he's potentially fully healed from whatever it was that he's dealing with.
Yeah, that would be awesome for down the stretch. Definitely have him as an RB1 still.
Definitely. And let's stick with the running back position. And we're going to talk about a guy that actually just had a breakout game this past weekend. Elijah Mitchell, right? Like, what is your confidence level with Elijah Mitchell as we head into the fantasy playoffs?
For Elijah, I'm gonna go with a 3. He's averaging 14.8 PPR points per game. It's a pretty decent number. I think he's kind of in that mid-range RB2 with some RB1 weeks, depending on how San Francisco moves the ball. It's also a matter of just him being a 49ers running back. It's just always concerning and scary that something could always happen, either injury or Kyle Shanahan deciding to use another running back. But it seems like he's been consistent with giving Mitchell the bulk of the carries this year. So I'm going to go, I'm going to bump it up to like a 3.5. He's an RB2 for me, though, for sure, rest of the season.
Yeah, so I like, and Greg, you have a little bit of a background on this. I recently traded Elijah Mitchell away in the League of Extraordinary People. So when you say this, when I say what my confidence level is, you might think, you might know how I'm feeling right now. My confidence level with Elijah Mitchell is a 5.
Wow.
Like I'm a 5 with Elijah Mitchell, right? Like just looking at the usage that he's gotten throughout the year. I mean, 19 carries, 17 carries. He's only got 2 games with single-digit carries, and one of those was with Trey Lance, which, if you remember, and listeners remember, that was my only issue with Elijah Mitchell. I said it a couple weeks ago or a few weeks back. That my only fear about Elijah Mitchell was Trey Lance.
Yeah, and it looks like he's not going to start this year.
I don't think he's playing anytime soon.
Yeah,
right. And so Elijah Mitchell is the workhorse. Jeff Wilson hasn't showed anything. Trey Sermon didn't show anything when he was healthy, and he just ended up on injured reserve. Like Jermichael Hasty, we know what his role is. I think
he's not even the best running back on the team, yo. My man Debo, baby.
Oh, Debo. I mean, and that's the thing, right? Is that like Debo Samuel takes away like the aura of Elijah Mitchell. But in today's game, if you can get a running back that's getting 18 carries a game, the way Elijah Mitchell is, you want that. Elijah Mitchell on the season, if you take if you take the 8 games that he's played out to a 16-game pace, he's on pace for almost 1,400 carries or 1,400 yards, 8 rushing touchdowns, 28 receptions, and 216 receiving yards.
That's a great year.
That's a great year.
Yeah.
And this is a rookie running back. This is the Shanahan system. We know what that means. And then I didn't even get to the best part. Like, this dude has one of the best running back schedules that you could have in fantasy football. I mean, he kicks it off with Seattle this week, which we just saw what Antonio Gibson just did to them, and the sieve that they've been all year.
Yeah, and J.D. McKissick did well. Yeah,
J.D. McKissick did well as well. Then he gets Cincinnati, which is another good matchup. Atlanta, Tennessee, And then championship week, he gets Houston. Like cake. So my confidence level with Elijah Mitchell is a bona fide 5.
Nice. Yeah, I'll put it up to 4 with those arguments.
All right, let's go to another guy. Started the year hot, has it's been slowed down a little bit, dealing with some injuries and now some competition. Damien Harris, and you are a Damien Harris manager in the Leaving Extraordinary People, our League of Records, so you can speak to it, Greg, more than most. But what is your confidence level in Damien Harris as we head closer into the fantasy playoffs?
So I do like he's on a really good team, but the fact that they are kind of pretty set on using Ramondre Stevenson as well, I'm gonna go with a 3, just because his upside is capped to give him that like 4 or 5 category. I still think he's a low end RB2 for the rest of the season. If he gets that touch, like they literally, him and Ramondre over the last 2 weeks have been around the same amount of carries, yards. Damien Harris got the touchdown last week, so that's what you're kind of hoping that he gets every week over Stevenson. So yeah, I'm gonna go with a 3.
My confidence level with, I want to say interval so bad. My confidence level in Damien Harris is, I'm gonna say it's a 2. I want to go 1. I'll go 1.5. Let's go with that. And I say this because let's talk about Damien Harris without Ramondre Stevenson, right? Like Damien Harris, when you came into the year, he was money.
Yeah.
But it was always like, well, you know what he is. He's not getting the receptions. He's RB2 with RB1 upside. He needs a touchdown to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're talking about he needs a touchdown to be an RB2.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it's not like he's going to get the receptions now. And now he's splitting work with a back who, I mean, I'm just going to say it. I think Ramondre Stevenson he just looks like the better player, looks like he has more juice, is better in the pass game. So I just, he's not the best player and he's in a dead split competition. Mm-hmm. And it's really going to come down to that touchdown split. And that's fine, but he's really like an RB3 now.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think he's been, if you could check like his red zone carries, but he's usually getting the goal line carries over Ramondre, so that kind of does help his case.
Yeah, and that definitely helps the case. Like you said, the Patriots are a good team.
Yeah.
And that they're, if they can get up on teams, they will. And they're going to spread the touchdowns around, whether it's passing or rushing. But if he's getting those goal line carries, that's definitely the tiebreaker there. Are you getting that now or?
Trying to. We can move on.
All right. Let's switch positions, man. Let's go to a tight end. I'm going to start with TJ Hawkinson, man. This is a guy that came out the gates hot, 2 20-point games in PPR leagues, but has been basically flatlined after that. He's like we talked about it off air, Greg. He is the tight end 6 in PPR scoring, and that kind of feels right because he's not going to give you the advantages over the Kelseys or the Kittles or the Mark Andrews and the Darren Wallers of the world. But he will fend off the streaming tight ends that don't finish in that top 12. But he, more times than not, he's really finishing outside that top 8 range of the tight end position. So what's your confidence level in TJ Hawkinson going forward?
Because he's tight end, I'm gonna go with a 5 because I think just him doing that is, I'll take it for a tight end position. I mean, he's not giving you every week the weekly like top 3 upside that you could have maybe he's getting earlier in the season, but he's not going to kill you, and that's definitely a nice thing to have. And as far as receivers, it's still like with Swift being out as well for the next couple weeks, like they're really gonna have to throw it to TJ Hawk. I see maybe a target bump coming soon, actually.
Yeah, that's true. We could get a target bump from him. I'm gonna go with a 3. Just because like I'm not overly excited about it. The schedule, like we talked about it off air as well.
Yeah, schedule stuff.
It's one of the tougher tight end schedules. Jared Goff is not. That's like not. There's nothing exciting about being attached to Jared Goff.
No.
And yeah, it's just tough, man. It really is. Like if I have another. Like it's to the point where if I have a better option on my bench, like I will bench TJ Hawkinson for him. Like I told you, like I was able to grab Logan Thomas in one of my leagues where I do have Hawkinson, and just looking at Thomas's schedule, like his playoff schedule is fantastic. And so I've already made the decision. I'm rest of the season. I'm starting Logan Thomas over TJ Hawkinson, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I don't see either one being a more ultra dominant player than another. I'm just going to play the matchups.
Yeah. Damien Harris is RB10 in red zone carries with 33. So
what about, can we get the last 2 games? The last 2.
Over the last 2 games, he's gotten 4, and then he didn't play the previous week. So week 9 he played and he had 3.
Okay.
Yeah, he gets around 3 or 4 a game. He did have 8 red zone target game, but red zone carry game.
That is a fair argument for Damien Harris. I guess I'll bump him up from the 1.5 I had him at to the 2. All right. What about Kyle Pitts, man? Let's talk about Kyle Pitts. I mean, he's currently. Let me check this. PPR points per game. Kyle Pitts is the tight end 9, averaging 10.6 PPR points per game. Where's your confidence level in Kyle Pitts?
I'm gonna go with a. It's tough. I want to say a 4, maybe 3.5. I think I'm gonna go 4. His target share is just very safe. Like he's only got 1 game with 3 targets this whole season, under 5 targets the entire season. He's got 1 game. And he's just been used. It's about he's handcuffed by his offense. Like if the offense is gonna play with Matt Ryan, pretty much, they're gonna get catchable passes and all that type of stuff. So Tampa, Carolina, and then San Fran. Decent schedule, not too great, not too bad. I'm gonna go with the 4.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's tough with Kyle Pitts because I feel like the lack of confidence has been the recent weeks. But if you look at the recent weeks, man, they've all been like tough matchups per se.
Yeah.
And the New England matchup, like we knew what that one was going to be.
Yeah.
Jacksonville, like people thought that it was a good matchup, but Jacksonville has actually been pretty good against tight ends, especially in recent weeks. So when I look at this matchup coming up against Tampa Bay, like I'm super excited about that matchup because, we just saw Jack Doyle get 8 catches over, on Tampa Bay on 9 targets, right? Like Kyle Pitts he's like 8 times the player that Jack Doyle is at this point in his career. So, I love that. And then obviously there's the upside of Kyle Pitts, and do you even really call him a tight end because of how much he plays out wide? And then, the fact that I think he's due for some serious touchdown regression.
He has to be. He only has 1 on the year. It's crazy.
Only has 1 on the year. This is a guy that has, 661 receiving yards. So, and the fact that Kyle Pitts can literally get 130 yards in a game, like 150 yards in a game, right? Like what tight ends can do that? Travis Kelce, Darren Waller, George Kittle, like Mark.
Yeah.
Mark isn't going to do that, but those guys, right? Like,
yeah.
So I want that opportunity. I want that upside, especially as a rookie. He's a guy that he can get better at. He can get so much better with the little year that we have left.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to let's talk about a passing game, and we'll go, a passing offense, and we'll go, bit by bit here. But the first guy I'm going to ask you about is a guy I think has frustrated a lot of folks over these last few weeks. DK Metcalf, man. What's our confidence level here with DK Metcalf as we enter this playoff stretch here?
Yeah, it's scary. I think he's like at a 2.5, 3 just because he's DK, but I'm gonna keep him there. This offense is just not clicking. I don't see it getting any better because they have Pete Carroll, and Pete Carroll is probably the most stubborn coach ever in the NFL. Like this man, they don't run a lot of plays. I think the stats on the last game against Washington was ridiculous about how many time of possession they had, plays they had. They're stuck in 1980. It's crazy. Like I don't understand. So I don't see them doing anything to change that because Pete Carroll just would keep saying we'll figure it out and do the same thing until he's basically insanity.
Yeah, it's pretty wild with Pete Carroll and that offense there. I think I'm gonna. Oh man, I feel like you said, the fact that it's DK makes you want to say like, oh, it'll turn around, but I'm nervous because there's nothing that makes me think Pete Carroll is going to change. Like they got clapped by Washington.
Clapped.
His response to that is first he says Russell Wilson and the rest of the offense have to play better, and then his next thing to do, you know what his problem is?
No, what is
like his problem is, oh, our run game is not good enough. Let's sign Adrian Peterson.
Right. Yep.
Right? Like that's come on, Pete.
They're last in plays per game over the year, and they're even last in over the last 3 weeks, even lower than their season average. Like they are so it's just so pathetic. Like I don't understand. They have Russell Wilson. Like
so we have obviously, Greg, you know this, but we have a little sheet here with all the games, and we talk about we have the EPA over these last few weeks, and it's the early down EPA because we like to get that first and second down, see what teams are really doing, and try to take that game script out of it. And one of the things that's really throwing me off is over the last couple weeks I'm doing this thing. I'm on first and second down. I'm seeing Seattle's the number one passed offense on first and second down, and I was like, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that don't make no sense.
And then I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe it's because they don't throw it enough on first and second down. And the times that they have thrown it on first and second down, they've actually been good. And I actually was like, if I look at their third down EPA, it's probably terrible. And sure enough, I was right. They were like 30th and third down drop back EPA because they're just running. Yeah. They're running the ball on first and second down, and they're just ending up in third and longs. And they're not even realizing that, hey, when we throw it on first and second down, we're really good.
Yeah, it kind of looks like the Giants, how they do as well. Like, but this is just.
But this is Russell. You have Russell
Wilson, right? You have Russell
right?
Wilson.
Like the Giants, like, okay, they drafted a running back, number 2 overall. Like, they're probably going to run the ball, right? Like, you have Russell Wilson, like, arguably a top 3, top 5 quarterback playing in the NFL today. Yeah. And your offense is to run the ball repeatedly.
Well, not even Chris Carson. Like, I can understand Carson's a good player. Like, you don't even have him. You would think they adjust a little bit.
They don't. They're not. And so I don't think I gave a thing on DK Metcalf. I'm just gonna say it's a 2 because I am so happy I don't have any DK Metcalf
word or any Seattle player really.
I have Tyler Lockett, which he's been okay.
True.
But I mean, he's got over 90 yards in his last like 4 games. Has 115 in 2 of them.
That's true.
So he's been fine. But I'm just really happy I don't have any DK Metcalf right now. The targets aren't even. I mean, again, like you said, there's no opportunities. The pass plays aren't there. They're not running plays. I mean, they threw out the graphic on Monday Night Football. It was punt, 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 punt. They had like 10 straight 3-and-outs.
Brutal.
So, what is your confidence level in Russell Wilson?
Oh, it's the same logic. I mean, that's around a 2.53 as well because he's Russ, but yeah, it's just the same logic. DK's tied to Russell, so if I'm giving DK a low rating, I don't think Russell's gonna have explosive games. Like I don't see him getting maybe one QB 1 week for the rest of the season, but I don't think he's a QB1 rest of the season.
Yeah, man, my confidence level in Russ is a 1. Like for me, Russ has always been one of those guys for me, and you know it, Greg. Like Russ has made his money in fantasy being uberly efficient, being like just more efficient than everybody else.
Yep.
And that's a nice game to play at quarterback, but
it's
it could also be a dangerous game when you're attached to Pete Carroll because there's going to be no volume attached to that efficiency.
Nope.
And so because of that, I've always been off of Russell Wilson. And because of that, I will be completely off of Russell Wilson. Like if we're not seeing the efficiency and we're not even seeing enough volume to even get close to some semblance of production, I've got to be out here. So I'm going to be a 1 on Russell Wilson, which likely means go scoop him up off waivers because he'll be a league winner.
Nah. He's not. I mean,
every quarterback I go out on, it's just like, oh well.
They couldn't get it done against Washington though. Like that's a very alarming. Like, so yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's it. We don't have any other quarterbacks, nothing like that. So this was a fun game, I definitely would say. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, thank you for kicking it with us here on this lovely Wednesday evening. Make sure to keep those Thursday night players out of your flex, please. And make sure you like, subscribe to the show, whether you're watching on YouTube or you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, however you may be listening. Just know we appreciate you rocking with us this season. And again, just keep it locked in. Got to get to those chips. Got to get to that playoff positioning. Got to get all this stuff done. So have a good one, everybody. We are out of here. Peace.
Yeah.